Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any queries relating to 80486? Anyone else? Anyone? Do you have any queries, any doubts? Any queries? Any doubts relating to 80486 processor? Do you have any queries, any doubts, anyone? Okay, so if you don't have any doubts, then I shall proceed to the next topic, which is 80586 or Pentium processor. So the Pentium, it's called the P5 micro architecture, or 80586. All these are same name of one microprocessor, 80586 or P5 or Pentium, which is the third among almost among the 80 cross 86 family, Intel's 32-bit microprocessor, which was released in the year 1993. It's a fifth generation processor. It has the distinction of being the first complex instruction set computer, CISC type processor, implementing instruction level parallelism. Okay, instruction level parallelism. It is a two-way superscalar processor, which means that two instructions can be simultaneously decoded and executed in it. Right now, until now, what happened in previous processors, in previous processor, one instruction is executed, then next instruction. So in this way, here at the same time, two instructions are executed. So that is the one architecture feature which is called the superscalar architecture. Okay, so it has 273 pin numbers, and it has certain features. Those are, it's a 32-bit microprocessor, the first feature. Second is it has 64-bit data bus. Now, in case of 64-bit data bus, if it has 64-bit data bus, how many banks are required? 8 memory banks. 8 memory banks, because each memory bank can store maximum 8 bit of data. Okay, so now to access at the same time 64 bits of data, how many banks are required? 8 banks are required. Okay, 8 banks are required. It has 32-bit address bus, so that the total memory space, physical memory space, will be 2 to the power 32, which is 4 GB, which is equivalent to 80486 microprocessor. Okay, it supports 5-stage integer pipeline. 5-stage integer pipeline. Okay, and the 5 stages are: first is the prefetch, second is the decoding, first decoding, third is the second decoding, and fourth step is execution, and the fifth one is the write back. Okay, write back. So it uses 5-stage pipeline. I will discuss in details each stage later. The next is, as it uses two-way superscalar architecture, that means if two instructions are executed at the same time, that means you need two pipelines at the same time, and it has U and V pipelines. Two pipelines are available, U and V. Okay, so at the same time, using U and V, the two instructions will be prefetch, then first decoded, then the operand decoding, then the execution part, then the write back part. Okay, so 5-stage pipelines are implemented in both pipes U and V. So actually that means 10 stages or 10 instructions. 5 stages, 5 instructions at the same time. So 10 instruction will be executed at the same time. Okay, parallelly. So that is called the instruction level parallelism. Okay, so two executions are simultaneously performed or concurrently performed. And also it has 8-stage floating point pipeline, 8-stage floating point pipeline. And 8-stage floating point pipelines are prefetch, then the first decode, then the second decoding, then the operand fetch, which is the either from the floating point file or from the cache memory. Then the first execution will be takes place as x1, then the second execution stage, which is x2, then the write floating point. Okay, and then error identifying or error reporting. Okay, so these are 8-stage floating point pipelining. As here the floating point unit is on chip, floating point unit is available. Okay, and it has also the on chip L1 cache. Okay, L1 cache is on chip, and two separate 8 kilobytes cache memories are there for separately stores the code and data. So 8 kilobyte cache memory is for code, and 8 kilobyte another cache memory is for data, and this is implemented on chip. Okay, within inside that chip. Now in previous microprocessor in 80486, what happened, the cache unit is actually cache memory, it is implemented outside. But here, no, sorry, it was implemented inside, but it has a unified cache. That means it has both instruction or code and data cache within one memory space. But here on chip cache is available for two separate purpose. One is to store the instructions and codes, and another is for data, which is 8 kilobyte individually separate. So 8 plus 8, 16. Now it has a branch prediction algorithm which uses a 256 entry branch target buffer. We'll discuss it later. Branch prediction, what is it? Branch prediction algorithm. And the interesting thing is, from the Pentium, the multimedia or graphics has been implemented. Okay, which is called MMX, multimedia extension technology, has been incorporated inside the Pentium processor. Now, before Pentium, what happened? Everything will be performed in DOS function. Okay, DOS platform. But when that means to execute the complex operation, to to use it for entertainment purpose, so to make the graphics to implement the graphics inside that processor, we need the multimedia technology, and that is called the MMX technology, multimedia extension technology, that has been incorporated inside this processor architecture. Okay, so these are the salient features of 80586, or it's called the Pentium processor. Now, there are certain things you need to familiar before discussing this 80586 or Pentium processor. All of you know that some architectures has been, I think so, I think all of you know that you know about some architecture concept, computer architecture concept, like multiple instruction issue. What is it? What is it? Actually, the multiple instruction is issue. It is used for enhancement of processor performance beyond one instruction per cycle. Beyond one instruction per cycle. Why? Because until now, from 8086 to 80486, so what happened? We have seen that only one instruction is issued to the execution unit per cycle. Okay, now this obviously leads to a comparatively slow process of decoding and execution. Now for enhancement of processor performance, that can be execute more than one instruction per cycle, computer architecture technology which is called multiple instruction issue has been implemented. Okay, now the microprocessor which is capable of issuing more than one instruction per single processor cycle will be termed as MII, or multiple instruction issue microprocessor. Obviously, for executing more than one instruction in a cycle, the microprocessor must have more than one execution channels. Okay, so if it has more than one execution channels, certain problems will be arised. What is the problem? The first one is how to issue multiple instruction and how to execute them concurrently at the same time. So now to overcome these two problems, two architectures are newly introduced, and that is called the very long instruction word architecture, or VLIW, and another is superscalar architecture. Okay, in VLIW architecture, what happened? This type of architecture related processor, the compiler records the sequential stream of code that is coming from the memory into a fixed size instruction group, and issues them in parallel for execution. And on the other hand, that is in superscalar architecture, what happens? The hardware decides which instructions are to be issued concurrently at runtime, at the current instruction time. Okay, so that is the main difference between this VLIW processor and the superscalar processor. Now, the Pentium CPUs are based on the superscalar architecture. The hardware in case of a superscalar architecture like Pentium become enormously complex, because in such processor, multiple instructions have to be issued in each cycle to the execution unit. Okay, and another important concept involved here is that pipelining concept. We have already explained the pipelining architecture from the 8086 till now 80486, but what happened? Pipelining has been implemented in all the processors, but in a limited sense, when instructions have been prefaced and stored in a queue. Okay, so this pipelining architecture has been newly advanced. It comes in a newly advanced features, that is in superscalar architecture form. Okay, so we will discuss the superscalar architecture, but before this superscalar execution, how it is executed, let me discuss the architecture block diagram of the Pentium processor. So this is the actual architecture block diagram, and if it is simplified, then this will be here. Sorry, this is the simplified diagram actually, but actual diagram by the Intel is this one. Okay, so what happened in this architecture block diagram? How it works? So it's a 32-bit processor. 32-bit processor. So that means double 64-bit data bus is inside this one. Data bus is 64-bit and 32-bit is address bus. Okay, and it can access 4 GB of memory. So there are two separate 8 kilobytes of 8 kilobytes of cache. One is the data cache, another is here on the upper position. The instruction cache is available. 8 kilobytes cache is two separate 8 kilobyte caches are available. Okay, each cache has a separate address translation, TLB. As is TLB, this is translation of address from virtual address to physical address. with it. The availability of a dual cache and a dual TLB permits the CPU to handle simultaneous instruction and data operand access. Okay, at the same time, the instruction will be accessed at the same time and the data will be accessed at the same time. Okay, and this providing the efficiency of the this increase the efficiency of the pipelining. And there are 256 there are 256 lines between the code cache, instruction cache, and the prefetch buffers, and this permits the prefetching of 32 bytes of instructions. 32 bytes of instructions. Like in case of 80486, what was the line? 128 line, because 16 kilobytes of instructions can be accessed. So each is 8 byte. So the total was 128, and now it is 32 byte. 32 bytes of instructions can be there, and each of 8 bit related. So 8 into 32 byte, which is 256 bytes. The 256 lines are there to access the instructions. Total number of lines. Now there are two parallel integer instruction pipelining is there. One is the U, another is the V. Okay, so two pipelines are there. The U pipeline has a barrel shifter in addition to the integer ALU. ALU is there, integer ALU is there. There is also a separate FPU, means the floating point unit is available here. Floating point unit is available, and a separate FPU pipeline with an individual floating point add, divide, multiply operational units are available. The data cache is dual ported. And accessible by the U and V pipelines. This one is connected. Okay, 32-bit data bus is available, and there is also a branch target buffer. Is available. This one uh, supplying jump target prefetch address to the instruction cache. That's why this arrow is given. So it actually identify the branch instruction address, the target address, where the program control is to be jumped. That must be supplied by this one to the instruction cache. Okay, so in actually it's what happened in pipelining. It has 5-stage pipelining. So in first stage, what is called the prefetch. So it is given here, prefetch. The first step is called the prefetch. Now the CPU prefetches the code from the code cache and aligns the code to the initial byte of the next instruction to be decoded. Okay, then it goes to the decoding circuit. Then CPU decodes the instruction to generate a control word. A single control word causes direct execution of an instruction, and more complex instructions require micro-coded control sequential. And next is the D2, where it decodes the control word generated in stage D1, previous stage, for subsequent use in the next execution stage. And the addresses for data memory also are generated. And next stage, what is called the execution stage, where the instruction is executed in the ALU. The barrel shifter or other operational units are used if necessary. The data cache is also accessed at this stage if necessary. Okay, and the last stage, which is called the write back, in which the CPU stores the results and updates the flag at this stage. That's why it is called write back operation. Okay, so it stores the result and updates the flag as per requirement. Okay, another things are, like in this case, a separate in floating point unit, what happened? Here in this position, this is a PU position. Okay. Actually, this floating point unit is divided into 5 segments. Okay, 5 segments. The number 1, which is called the floating point address segment. Floating point address segment. Uh, Second is the floating point multiplier segment. Third is the floating point divider segment. Fourth one is floating point exponent segment, and fifth one is floating point rounder segment. So this 5 segments are available, and there are certain functions of this floating individual these segments, like the first one, which is called the floating point adder segment, FADD. In short, it is called FADD, floating point adder segment. This segment is responsible only for addition of floating point numbers and executes many floating point instructions like addition, subtraction, and comparison. Next is the floating point multiplier segment, where the multiplication in single precision, double precision, and extended precision modes it is carried out. And the third is the floating point divider segment. This segment executes actually floating point division and square root instructions. Also, it calculates 2 bits of quotient every cycle and operates during the pipelining, 2-stage pipelining. Okay. Floating point exponent segment, it actually calculates the floating point exponent. This is an important segment which interacts with all other floating point segments for necessary adjustment of different mantissa and exponent field in the final stage of floating point computation. Because all of you know the floating point number representation, there is a mantissa and exponent is available, and how this will be treated. This will be treated by the floating point unit, okay, using the floating point exponent segment. And the fifth segment, which is called the floating point rounder segment, actually the results of floating point addition or division or any other operation process may be required to be rounded off before write back to the floating point registers. Okay, so decimal point. So if it is a point, suppose 13.588, so this will be treated as 13.59. So the closest form, or it is rounded off, it is called the rounded off operation, and this segment perform the rounding off operation before write back stage. So it is written inside the register, this register. So before writing it, it must be rounded off. So that's why that is the function of the rounder segment. Okay. Now coming to the next topic, which is called the branch branch prediction. What is it? Branch prediction algorithm is implemented here. I have here I have given the features like branch prediction algorithm using a 256 entry branch target buffer. Now what is branch prediction algorithm? What is it? Actually, now the branch instructions are more or less means maximum time it is used to create certain loops, to create certain conditions. Okay, so but what happened, these instructions changes the normal sequential control flow of the program and may stall the pipeline execution in the uh, microprocessor system. Now branches again may be of two types, like conditional or unconditional. In case of a conditional branch, what happens, the processor has to wait till the execution stage to determine whether the condition is satisfied or not. When the condition is satisfied, a branch is to be taken. Now after arising these type of situations, so Intel designers implemented a branch prediction algorithm for speed up the instruction execution. How? A 256 entry branch target buffer, a branch target buffer 256 entry branch target buffer is implemented, and this buffer actually holds the branch target addresses for previously executed branches. Okay, the branch target buffer, it's a four-way set associative memory. It's a one type of set, four-way set associative memory. So whenever a branch is taken, the CPU enters the branch instruction address and also the destination address in the branch target buffer. Now, when an instruction is decoded, the CPU searches the branch target buffer to determine whether there exists any entry for a corresponding branch instruction or not. If there is a entry, means if there is a hit, okay, there is a hit, then there exists such entries. Then what happened? The processor uses the history to decide whether the branch will be taken or not. If the processor, based upon its previous history, decides to take the branch, it fetches the instructions from the target address and decodes them. However, the issue of whether the branch is correctly taken or not will be resolved only during the early write back stage of the pipeline. Okay, if the prediction is correct, then process continues, and if the prediction is incorrect, then CPU flushes the pipeline and fetches from the correct target address. Okay, so what I mean, a correctly predicted branch will never cause any pipelining hazards or bubbles. Okay, so that's why branch prediction algorithm needs to be implemented so that the normal or the execution speed will be increased by certain amount of time. Okay, so that is the branch prediction algorithm. And the multimedia extension technology is to be implemented. I have discussed it. Then the last thing, which is the superscalar organization. Okay, so how superscalar execution is to be implemented here. So superscalar means there must be two pipelines, U and V. Okay, U pipe and V pipe. Now in the, what happened in the prefetch instruction, this stage of the pipeline, the CPU fetches the instructions from the instruction cache, which stores the instruction to be executed. In this stage, the CPU also aligns the code appropriately. Now, why this is required? This is required since the instructions are of variable length and the initial opcode bytes. Opcode bytes. Uh, Second is the next thing is in the D1 stage. In the D1 stage, the CPU first decoding stage, what happened? The CPU decodes the instruction and generates a control word for simple instructions involving register, data transfer, or arithmetic or logical, whatever. Only a single control word might be sufficient enough for starting the execution. Okay, and next stage, thus the decode. Second decode stage D2 is required, where the control word from D1 stage is again decoded, and for final execution also the CPU generates addresses for data memory references in this stage. And after that, in this execution stage, what happened? Execution stage, it accesses, CPU either accesses the data cache for data operands or executes the arithmetic, logical combinations or floating point operations in the execution unit. And in the final stage, what happened? The write back stage. In this stage, the CPU updates the register's contents or the status in the flag register depending upon the execution results will be implemented. Okay, and so at the same time, so uh, this happens in two lines, U and V. At the same time, the two instructions are executed. Okay, and that is called instruction level parallelism. Okay, and it is a superscalar architecture, two-way superscalar architecture. Okay, so that's all for today. So if you have any queries, any doubts regarding Pentium, you can ask me. Do you have any queries, any doubts regarding
No, thank you.
580, 586 or Pentium? Anyone? Do you have any doubt, any queries regarding Pentium processor? Okay, one thing I need to announce that I will take your lab classes from next week. Okay, from next week. So all of you must ready with your system terminal, means a laptop or desktop, so that you can download the simulator, which is called GNU Sim 85. I will send the link through Google Classroom so that you can download it and be ready with this simulator so that we can start the lab from the next week. Okay, all of you must listen this carefully. We'll start the lab from next week positively. So you must download the GNU Sim 85 simulator, and I will send you the link for downloading this simulator so that you can ready with that simulator and we can perform the lab using that simulator. Okay, so thank you all. So see you on Friday, and the next topic will be based on 8051 microcontroller. Thank you all. So I will end my meeting.